It began with something simple, an old cereal box, left forgotten in a damp corner of the garden. One morning, as I lifted that soggy cardboard, I saw life moving beneath it, hundreds of worms wriggling in rich, dark soil. I stood there amazed. For years, I'd spent money buying worms, thinking that's what every good gardener should do. But that one small accident revealed nature's secret. She creates her own worm farm if you just give her the right cover. That day changed the way I gardened forever. The problem every gardener faces. You know the struggle: hard, compact soil that feels more like cement than earth. You push your shovel in, and it barely goes an inch deep. The ground's dry in some spots, soggy in others. You add compost, you water, you wait, and still, it feels lifeless. No worms, no softness, no spring under your step. Just dirt that refuses to breathe. For years, I fought that same battle. Every gardening book and video said the same thing: get more worms, buy organic fertilizer, add compost. So I did. I bought buckets of worms, spread them lovingly across my beds, and waited for them to work their magic. But after a few weeks, they were gone, vanished. I started to wonder, was I doing something wrong? Maybe you felt the same way, pouring time, money, and hope into your garden, only to feel like the earth isn't listening. You care for it, talk to it, even pray over it sometimes, and yet, it stays stubborn. That's the thing about soil, it mirrors life. You can't just force growth. You have to create the right environment for life to show up. Then one morning, I stumbled on something that changed everything. It wasn't in a gardening manual or an expensive workshop, it was in my recycling bin. A simple piece of old cardboard. It had sat in a damp corner for weeks, forgotten and softening under the dew. When I lifted it, what I saw stunned me: worms. Dozens of them, moving in rich, dark soil. They hadn't come from the store. They'd come from nature herself. That was the moment it clicked. The worms weren't missing, they just needed a home. A little cover, a little moisture, and protection from the sun. And that cardboard? It was the perfect invitation. Sometimes we gardeners overcomplicate things. We buy, mix, and turn, trying to fix what nature already knows how to heal. But the truth is, life wants to return to the soil. All it needs is the right condition, shade, moisture, and something organic to break down slowly. And here's the best part. This simple trick costs nothing. You don't need to buy special worm bedding or fancy soil activators. Just take that cardboard, no plastic, no print, just plain brown, and lay it flat on the soil where you want life to return. Keep it damp, and let time do the rest. In a few weeks, you'll start to see the transformation. The ground softens, worms multiply, and your garden begins to breathe again. It's a humbling reminder that sometimes the best solutions aren't in the store. They're right under our noses, hidden in the ordinary things we overlook. The garden teaches patience, simplicity, and trust. And every time I see worms wriggling under that cardboard, I'm reminded that nature doesn't need us to buy her miracles. She just needs us to notice them. The discovery, how it happened. It was early spring, that quiet time when the garden is still half asleep, and you're itching to get your hands in the soil again. The weeds were already showing up before the flowers had a chance. So, I decided to smother them the old-fashioned way, with cardboard. Nothing fancy, just a few pieces from an old cereal box and some shipping packages, laid flat over a bare patch I'd given up on last season. At first, it was just to block the sunlight and stop the weeds from spreading. I pressed the edges down with a few stones, gave it a quick soak, and walked away. No big expectations. Just an old gardener's trick to buy myself some time before planting. 2 weeks later, curiosity got the best of me. The morning air was cool, and the ground still smelled of rain. I knelt down and lifted one edge of the cardboard, and there they were. Dozens of worms, wriggling, tunneling, alive. They weren't the store-bought kind. These were locals, drawn in by the moisture, the darkness, and the slow decay of the cardboard itself. I just stared for a while. The soil beneath was completely different, dark, crumbly, rich with life. It was the kind of soil gardeners dream about, all from something I was about to throw in the recycling bin. I realized then that the cardboard hadn't just blocked weeds. It had created a perfect little ecosystem, a cozy, damp shelter where worms could work in peace, where microbes could thrive, and where the earth could start to heal itself. That moment felt like discovering a secret handshake between me and nature, one I hadn't noticed before. And the best part? I didn't do much. No turning, no hauling compost, no buying worms by the pound. I simply gave the soil what it had been asking for: protection and time. Over the next few weeks, I noticed the difference everywhere. The soil stayed moist longer, even under the sun. The weeds weakened and broke down into soft humus. And the worms? They multiplied, creating their tunnels and leaving behind that beautiful black cast we all call gardener's gold. It amazed me how something as simple as cardboard, something we throw away without a thought, could bring such transformation. It reminded me that gardening isn't just about adding more. Sometimes it's about removing the pressure and letting nature do what she's designed to do. So now, every time I get a delivery or finish a cereal box, I don't see waste anymore. I see an opportunity, a chance to feed the soil, to welcome life back into the ground. One humble piece of cardboard at a time. Have you ever found worms under cardboard or leaves by surprise? Maybe while cleaning your garden beds or lifting mulch after a rain. Tell me how your garden reacted. Did the soil look richer, softer, more alive? I'd love to hear your story, because every garden teaches us something new, and together, those small discoveries remind us that nature always finds a way to renew itself. The science behind it. Here's what really happens, and it's simpler, more beautiful, and more natural than most gardening books will ever tell you. Worms are drawn to dark, moist environments filled with organic matter. To them, cardboard isn't trash. It's a five-star hotel and a buffet rolled into one. When you lay cardboard over the soil, you're mimicking the forest floor, the perfect conditions where life quietly renews itself. In nature, the ground is never bare. Walk through a forest, and you'll notice the soil is always covered with leaves, fallen bark, or decaying plants. That cover does more than protect the soil from erosion. It traps moisture, keeps temperatures steady, and gives microbes and insects a place to thrive. Worms move in naturally because that's where the food and comfort are. Now, think about your garden. When we till, expose, and leave soil bare, we're breaking that natural cycle. The sun bakes it, the rain compacts it, and the life underneath retreats deeper or dies off. But lay down a simple piece of cardboard, and suddenly, the story changes. The cardboard holds in moisture like a blanket, softens the top layer of soil, and begins to decompose. As it breaks down, it releases carbon, the same element found in decaying leaves and wood. This carbon becomes food for the microorganisms that live in the soil. Those microbes multiply, creating the perfect environment for worms. The worms come in to feed on the softened cardboard and the microbial layer that forms beneath it. While feeding, they tunnel through the soil, aerating it and leaving behind castings, tiny nuggets of pure, nutrient-rich fertilizer. It's a self-sustaining system. Cardboard covers and feeds. Moisture invites worms. Worms loosen and enrich the soil. Plants thrive in the new, living earth. No store-bought worms, no expensive soil activators, no harsh chemicals, just nature doing what she's done for millions of years. And the beauty of it all? You can start anywhere. A garden bed, a container, or even a small patch by the fence. One piece of cardboard can start the process. There's a quiet magic to this. It's science, yes, but it's also a reminder of how life naturally balances itself when we stop overcomplicating things. Every worm, every microbe, every drop of moisture plays a role in restoring what was once lifeless soil. So, the next time you're about to toss a cardboard box, pause for a moment. You're holding one of the simplest tools for soil regeneration known to humankind. You're holding a small piece of the forest floor, a doorway back to nature's rhythm. Try it, and you'll see. The worms will come, the soil will change, and you'll begin to understand the quiet wisdom hidden beneath our feet. That life doesn't need much to return. It just needs an invitation. How to do it yourself, step by step for seniors. Here's how I do it now, a method so simple, gentle, and forgiving that anyone can try it. No matter your age or strength, you don't need fancy tools, heavy lifting, or expensive supplies. Just a little patience, a bit of moisture, and some humble cardboard. Gardening should never feel like a chore. It's meant to be peaceful, something that brings you closer to nature, not wear you out. That's why this technique has become one of my favorite ways to build healthy soil while being kind to the body. It's quiet, steady work, and best of all, it lets nature do the heavy lifting for you. Let's walk through it step by step. Step 1. Lay down the cardboard. Find a bare patch of soil, maybe an area that's been hard to dig, dry, or full of weeds. Take some plain brown cardboard, avoid shiny or printed types, and remove all tape, staples, or stickers. Flatten it out and lay it right on the ground. If you're covering a big space, overlap the edges so no sunlight sneaks through. This alone stops weeds from growing and starts building that protective forest floor layer. Step 2. Wet it slightly. Take your watering can or hose and moisten the cardboard until it's damp. Not soaked, just enough to soften it. This keeps it in place and starts the natural breakdown process. Worms and microbes love moisture, so this step is key. Think of it like setting a welcome mat for them. Step 3. Add a light layer of mulch or compost. On top of the cardboard, sprinkle a thin layer of compost, dry leaves, or old mulch. This adds nutrients and helps lock in more moisture. It also gives worms something extra to munch on as they move in. You don't need to lift, dig, or bin much here. Just scatter lightly with your hands or a small rake. Step 4. Leave it be for 2 to 3 weeks. Now comes the easiest part. Do nothing. Let nature get to work. Over the next few weeks, rain and dew will soften the cardboard further. The worms will find their way underneath, drawn by the darkness and the buffet above. Don't disturb it too soon. Patience here pays off in beautiful, crumbly soil later. Step 5. Lift it gently and watch the magic. After 2 or 3 weeks, lift a corner carefully. You'll likely see worms moving through rich, damp soil, living proof that the earth is healing. If it's still dry or stiff, give it a little more time. You'll know it's ready when the cardboard has softened and started to blend into the soil. This method isn't just for big gardens. It works in raised beds, containers, or even small backyard plots. It's gentle on your back, saves water, reduces weeds, and builds better soil without chemicals or digging. What I love most about it is how it slows you down, lets you watch the quiet miracle of life returning to the soil. Each time I lift that cardboard and see the worms at work, I'm reminded that good things grow when we give nature the space to do what she does best. The results: nature rewards patience. I'll never forget the first time I pressed my hand into that soil after a few weeks. It felt soft, almost like chocolate cake, moist, loose, and full of quiet movement. The kind of soil that makes you smile because you know it's alive. There were tunnels, worm castings, and a rich, earthy smell that only comes when the ground has truly come back to life. And here's what amazed me most. I hadn't done any digging. No turning the soil, no lugging heavy compost bags, and certainly no more buying worms. I just gave nature a nudge, and she did the rest. When you let cardboard do its magic, you're not forcing anything. You're simply creating the right conditions for nature to express herself. Worms move in because it's dark and safe. Microbes multiply because it's moist and full of carbon. The soil structure rebuilds itself, quietly, patiently, and beautifully. Within a few short weeks, I noticed real change. The patch that used to be dry and stubborn now held water better. My plants rooted deeper and looked greener. Even the weeds that used to take over lost their grip, replaced by soft, fertile ground that practically invited growth. That's the gift of patience in the garden. We're so used to thinking we need to do more, dig more, buy more, fix more, but often, the secret is to do less. To step back, trust the process, and let nature take her time. She's been perfecting this system for millions of years. All we have to do is cooperate with it. There's something profoundly calming about this method. Watching your soil come alive again reminds you that renewal doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it hums softly beneath the surface. Every time you lift that cardboard and see those worms moving through the earth, you're witnessing a small miracle, life returning quietly and freely. And for many of us, especially in our later years, that feels deeply symbolic. Gardening becomes less about control and more about partnership. Less about rushing for results and more about savoring the gentle rhythm of growth. When we slow down and align with nature's pace, she rewards us, not just with healthier soil, but with a peaceful mind and a grateful heart. So if you're wondering whether it really works, try it. Start with one patch. Give it a few weeks. You'll see, feel, and even smell the difference. And once you do, you'll never see cardboard the same way again. If you've ever used cardboard in your garden, or you're ready to give it a try, type "Nature knows best" in the comments. Let's see how many of us are rediscovering this simple, powerful truth that the earth already knows how to heal herself. We just have to give her the chance. Sometimes, the answers we search hardest for aren't in the store. They're right under our feet. This little cardboard trick taught me more than just how to grow better soil. It reminded me how life itself works, quietly, patiently, and with balance. I remember old Mr. Fig, a neighbor from years back who had a garden that always seemed to thrive. While the rest of us fussed with fertilizers and gadgets, he just smiled and said, "The soil doesn't need saving, we just need to stop interrupting it." I didn't fully understand that wisdom back then, but now, kneeling beside my own garden and watching life return from a simple piece of cardboard, I do. Nature doesn't need constant fixing. She needs space to breathe, to heal, to remember how to do what she's always done best. Every worm that shows up, every root that dives deeper, every patch of soil that turns dark again, it's all a quiet reminder that life knows how to repair itself when we stop getting in the way. And that truth goes far beyond gardening. How many times in life have we tried too hard to force something, a dream, a plan, even a relationship, only to realize later that growth happens naturally when we step back and allow it? The same patience that rebuilds the soil can also rebuild our spirit. We live in a world that teaches us to rush, to buy solutions, to fix problems fast. But the garden whispers a different lesson. It tells us to slow down, to trust the process, to believe that small, consistent care, not constant control, brings the best harvest. The worms didn't need my help. The soil didn't need my orders. All it needed was a little shelter and time. And when I finally stopped working so hard and started listening, the garden came alive. Maybe that's what life is asking from us, too. A little less noise, a little more faith. To cover our tired places with kindness, give them moisture and warmth, and wait. Because healing, whether it's in soil or in the soul, takes the same three ingredients: care, time, and trust. So when I lift a piece of cardboard now and see the rich life beneath, it feels like a small parable, a reminder that renewal doesn't come from force. It comes from faith in what's already there. Mr. Fig was right. The soil doesn't need saving, and maybe neither do we. We just need to stop interrupting the quiet work that's already happening beneath the surface. So, to every gardener, dreamer, and soul looking for signs of growth, keep the faith. The soil is still alive. The worms are still working. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do, in the garden or in life, is to let go and trust the simple things. If this story gave you an idea, a smile, or maybe just a gentle nudge to step back into your garden, then my job here is done. Because gardening, at its heart, isn't just about growing plants. It's about growing hope, patience, and gratitude for the little things that remind us life is still moving forward, even in quiet ways. When I think back to that first morning, lifting a soggy piece of cardboard and finding life wriggling beneath it, I realize it wasn't just the soil that changed. It was me. I stopped rushing. I stopped trying to control every inch of my garden. I started listening more, noticing more, trusting more. And that's when everything began to flourish, not just the plants, but my own peace of mind. That's the beauty of gardening for me, especially in this season of life. It keeps teaching, gently, patiently, without judgment. Every seed planted carries a reminder that it's never too late to grow again. Every worm under the soil is proof that life keeps renewing itself, even when we can't see it. And that's why I share these stories, not just to teach a trick or a technique, but to celebrate the wisdom that comes from working with nature, not against her. So if this video brought you closer to that rhythm, if it made you smile, or reminded you of someone who taught you to love the earth, take a moment to share it. Because stories, like seeds, grow stronger when they're passed on. If this story gave you an idea, a smile, or a reason to get your hands dirty again, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who loves to grow. You never know whose spirit might need a little cardboard miracle today. And don't forget to subscribe to the Evergreen Seniors, where every season has a second chance to bloom. Here, we celebrate the wisdom that comes with time, the joy that comes from the garden, and the belief that growth never really stops, it just changes form. As you head out to your own garden, maybe with a piece of cardboard in hand, remember this: you don't have to buy what nature gives freely. You just have to slow down enough to notice it. Here's to soft soil, full hearts, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the simplest discoveries are the ones that last the longest. So go ahead, lift the cardboard, feel the earth, and smile. Because in the end, every gardener, every dreamer, and every soul that still believes in renewal shares one truth. Every season has a second chance to bloom.